What is up, Jamily? This is JamiroFan 2000 here with yet another episode of JamiroFan Talks About, my discussionary series looking at the past, present, and future of Jamiroquai and their over 28 years of music making. And as I talked about in the last episode of JamiroFan Talks About, this is part of a new multi-episode series where I'm going to be looking at the DJs that have had the privilege to remix Jamiroquai's music over the last 8 albums and over 28 years of music making. In this episode, I'm going to be looking primarily at the second album era for Jamiroquai from between 1994 to 1995, with, of course, the album The Return of the Space Cowboy. Return of the Space Cowboy would see 5 major single releases during its time, and some of the most notable remixes of this time are as follows. During the first single release, of course, from Return of the Space Cowboy, which of course would be for Stillness in Time, we had a pair of remixes by Groove Assassin, who has a bit of history with Jamiroquai, doing a lot of promo remixes, but they did Groove Assassin, otherwise known as Nick, UK dance producer by the name of Nick Moss. He did a pair of re-rub remixes for the Stillness in Time single release, then following on with Light Years, which was one of the most frenetic songs from that album for Jamiroquai. There were nearly a duo of great remixes done by a lot of DJs for Light Years. The remixes, these remixes were primarily for the U.S. market, but featured remixes by Jamiroquai's own Derek McKenzie in one of his first major remix jobs with the band Jamiroquai, and this was in cooperation with other DJs by Richard Berg and Roy the Roach. And then the second half of those remixes from Light Years would be done by other DJs, by Phil Cassins and Todd Chapman. But some of those Light Years remixes are probably some of the most notable from this album era for Return of the Space Cowboy. And finishing off this album era of DJs that remixed Jamiroquai's music, Space Cowboy would see probably one of the most heavily remixed songs of this album era for Jamiroquai. And remember, this is Jamiroquai still being a bit of a fledgling level of a band, but David Morales, a UK DJ by the name of David Morales, just knocked out an amazing set of remixes for Space Cowboy, which would be the tail-end single release from Return of the Space Cowboy. But his remixes are probably some of the most impressive remixes of Jamiroquai music in the discography. Not to mention, Space Cowboy would be reissued in 2006 with a pair of there would be a series of 2006 reissued remixes for Jamiroquai celebrating the Dynamite era, and they would have a 2006 remix, dual remix release on digital of the original David Morales remix and a new 2000 remix done by the DJs Mayhem and Musafila, and those remixes are really cool too. But that's it for these the remixes for the traveling album, the Return of the Space Cowboy era for Jamiroquai. If you're interested in more information or want to check out these remixes that I talked about in this episode of Return of the Space Cowboy by those choice DJs, I'll be sure to put YouTube audio streams of all these remixes, including additional information about these remixes and their availability from the Discogs music collecting website in the description of this video down below. So be sure to check out all that great information and all these great remixes from the Return of the Space Cowboy. I hope you enjoyed this episode of JamiroFan Talks About, and be sure to like and subscribe and ding the bell on your YouTube page to stay up to date on all the latest new content coming from the JamiroFan 2000 YouTube channel. And looking in the next episode of JamiroFan Talks About, I will be looking primarily at remixes from the groundbreaking, mainstream-breaking third album from Jamiroquai from 1996 through 1997, of course, of Traveling Without Moving. So keep your eyes out for that episode very, very soon here on the channel. And I hope you're enjoying this series so far. Definitely going to be working very hard on this and try to be totally transparent and correct with all the information I dispense in this series. I hope you enjoy it. But as always, this is JamiroFan 2000, and I'll see you again really soon with another JamiroFan Talks About, many more Jamiroquai minutes, and many more Jamiroquai related videos here on the JamiroFan 2000 YouTube channel. Bye-bye, everybody.